T95, the birth of America's ultimate armored experiment. The story of the T95 begins not with ambition, but with fear. During the later stages of the Second World War, Allied commanders faced a troubling reality. As their forces advanced deeper into German territory, they encountered increasingly sophisticated defensive systems. Massive concrete bunkers, reinforced gun emplacements, and layered anti-tank obstacles transformed entire regions into fortified zones that were extremely difficult to breach. Traditional armored vehicles struggled in these conditions. Even heavily armored tanks were vulnerable when forced to approach fixed defenses head-on. Infantry assaults were costly, and air support was not always available or precise enough to neutralize hardened targets. American military planners began to search for a solution that relied not on speed or maneuverability, but on overwhelming protection and raw firepower. From this environment of urgency and uncertainty, the concept that would become the T95 was born. The original idea emerged as a response to the anticipated invasion of heavily fortified areas in Western Europe. Engineers and strategists believed that future operations would require a vehicle capable of advancing slowly under direct enemy fire, surviving hits that would destroy conventional tanks, and methodically eliminating concrete fortifications blocking the advance of infantry. This was not a vehicle meant for tank duels or rapid exploitation. It was intended to function as a moving fortress. The project initially carried a different designation, reflecting its early classification as a super heavy tank. However, as development progressed, it became clear that the vehicle did not fit traditional definitions. Without a rotating turret and designed primarily for direct fire against fixed positions, it was eventually reclassified as a gun motor carriage. This change in designation highlighted its true purpose, an assault weapon rather than a maneuver platform. One of the most radical decisions in the design of the T95 was the elimination of a turret. By fixing the main gun directly into the hull, engineers were able to dramatically increase frontal armor thickness. The front of the vehicle became a massive slab of steel, designed to resist the most powerful anti-tank weapons available at the time. Survivability was prioritized above all else. This design choice, however, came with consequences. Without a turret, the vehicle's gun had limited horizontal movement. To aim at targets outside this narrow arc, the entire vehicle had to be repositioned. This limitation was accepted as a necessary trade-off. The T95 was never meant to react quickly to changing threats. It was meant to advance deliberately, supported by infantry, and destroy what lay directly in front of it. Armor protection defined the identity of the T95. Its frontal armor was among the thickest ever applied to an armored fighting vehicle during the Second World War. Military planners believed that this level of protection would allow it to approach enemy fortifications almost unharmed, absorbing punishment that would cripple other vehicles. In theory, the T95 could simply endure enemy fire long enough to accomplish its mission. Yet armor alone does not win battles. The immense weight created by such protection introduced serious challenges. The vehicle became extraordinarily heavy, pushing the limits of existing engines, suspensions, and transmissions. To address ground pressure issues, engineers adopted an unusual solution: a 4-track system with 2 tracks on each side. This configuration helped distribute weight more evenly, reducing the risk of the vehicle sinking into soft terrain. While innovative, this system also increased mechanical complexity. Maintenance demands rose, and logistical concerns became more pronounced. Transporting the vehicle by rail or moving it across bridges often required removing the outer tracks, a process that consumed time and manpower. These realities raised questions about how practical the T95 would be in fast-moving combat environments. The main gun of the T95 was chosen specifically for its ability to destroy reinforced structures. Rather than focusing on anti-armor combat, the weapon was optimized for firing powerful shells capable of cracking concrete and collapsing bunkers. Accuracy and penetration against static targets mattered more than rate of fire. The vehicle was envisioned as a siege engine, advancing step by step, breaking defensive lines that had resisted other forms of attack. Crew experience inside the T95 was markedly different from that of conventional tank crews. Visibility was limited, movement was slow, and the pace of operations was deliberate. coordination with infantry units was essential. Without escorting troops, the vehicle risked being attacked from the sides or rear, where its armor was significantly thinner. The T-95 was powerful, but it was not independent. As prototypes neared completion, the strategic situation began to change. The war in Europe moved toward its conclusion faster than anticipated. Fortified lines that the T-95 had been designed to assault were either bypassed or rendered irrelevant by the collapse of German resistance. The original problem that justified such an extreme vehicle was disappearing. After the end of the Second World War, military doctrine evolved rapidly. Mobility, combined arms cooperation, and air superiority became dominant themes. New weapons, including shaped charge munitions and advanced aircraft, reduced the effectiveness of pure armor solutions. The idea of a slow, super-heavy assault vehicle no longer aligned with future battlefield realities. As a result, the T-95 never entered combat service. The project was eventually canceled, leaving only a small number of prototypes. What remained was not a weapon of war, but a symbol of a particular moment in military thinking, when engineers believed that enough steel could overcome any obstacle. Today, the T-95 stands as a monument to extreme design philosophy. It represents the limits of armor-based solutions and the willingness of wartime engineers to push technology beyond conventional boundaries. Although it never fired a shot in battle, its legacy endures as one of the most fascinating experiments in armored warfare history. The story of the T-95 is not one of victory or defeat, but of adaptation. It reminds us that weapons are shaped by fear, expectation, and the lessons of the past. And sometimes, by the time a solution is ready, the problem it was meant to solve has already changed.